Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us, everyone. My name is Andrew Duffney, and I'm the Instruction and Outreach Librarian at the New Jersey State Library. And with me today is our presenter, Martha Sullivan, who is the library's Health and Serials Librarian. So everybody, please welcome Martha. A few housekeeping items before we get into today's presentation. First, we will be taking questions at the end of the program, but please feel free to submit them at any time using the questions box in the GoToWebinar dashboard, or if you prefer, you can email me directly, and my email address is on the screen. Martha has uploaded a handout for today that includes links to different resources that we'll be covering today, and you can download that from the handout section of the GoToWebinar dashboard. If you're connecting from a mobile device, you might not be able to download that, but don't fret. This information will be provided to you in the follow-up email with a link to the recording as well. There is a survey that will be provided at the end of the webinar, as well as in a follow-up email. If you can please complete that. Again, we always greatly appreciate your feedback, and it really does help us as we move forward with our programming at the library. And lastly, there is a link here that I will put in the chat in just a moment for a whole bunch of health-related resources, including information on COVID-19. Martha has developed a health research guide on the New Jersey State Library's website. So please, if you are looking for more information or trying to figure out something that was said today, all that information is available on the research guide. And again, I will make sure everybody gets that link in the live chat. One last thing before we start is just a brief overview of the GoToWebinar dashboard. This is what your dashboard should look like if you're using a laptop or desktop. iOS and Android users, this may look a little different on your device, but all the options should be there. At any point today, if you need help or can't figure anything out, there is a raise hand button. You can hit that. I will message you, and hopefully we'll be able to solve your problem. As I said, there is a handout for today in this handout section, so you should be able to just click on that and download it. A note to Google Chrome users that when you click on that, it may not download the handout. That seems to be a personal setting you have related to opening PDFs through Chrome. But again, as I said, that information will be sent out to you in the follow-up email. And lastly, there is a questions box where you can type in your question and send it off to us. And again, we'll be happy to address those questions at the end of the program. So that is everything that I have for you. So it is my pleasure to now turn it over to Martha.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. And hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for our discussion of 8 great online health resources. As Andrew said, I'm Martha Sullivan, one of the reference librarians here. And one of the things I do is maintain our health research guides. So I'm always looking for trustworthy, helpful, high-quality health websites to share. A Pew study from several years ago found that 72% of internet users looked for health information online. And even though this is an older study, I believe the point is still true that many of us use internet sources for health questions. So it is important to evaluate the type of information and sites we find. We've probably all used the internet enough now to know that we need to make sure that a site seems reputable. And this is especially important on websites with health information. So there's kind of a helpful device we can use when checking on the quality of a website. And it's known as the CRaap test. So this acronym kind of is something to think about when you're looking at health websites. So the first letter C is for currency. So we should be able to find out when the site was updated. You don't want a health website that is out of date. R, relevance. So is the site relevant to what you're searching for? Who is the intended audience, and is it the right level for your needs? The first A is for authority. This is probably one of the most important points to check for. Who is the source? Who is the author or publisher of the site? And are the credentials readily available? Is there contact information for the site author? And what does the URL reveal about the source? Is it a .com, a .org, a .gov, a .edu? If it's a .com, that means it's a commercial site, so you might see advertising on the site. It might be selling something. So that might be a site that you might want to look at with a little bit more critical eye. The next A is for accuracy. This can sometimes be a little bit trickier, but does the information seem to be biased? Can it be verified by other sources? And sometimes something obvious, like are you seeing a lot of typos on the site, might be an indicator of quality. And finally, purpose. Does the site state its objective? Is the site there to inform, to entertain? Is it there to sell something? So that's the final thing to think about. I think the biggest red flag is when you find a site that's saying that their treatment is a cure for something. That's something to be very skeptical about. And it is always best to verify health information you find online with your physician. So let's jump into the websites. And on your handout, I've linked all the websites that we're talking about today. So if you need to log out early for any reason, you have that available. And we're going to spend a couple of minutes on each site, basically covering the tip of the iceberg on what you can find, but I hope this will provide a helpful overview. So first up is doctors. I think it can be difficult to find detailed information about doctors online. There are review sites like Healthgrades and Rate MDs, but sometimes it is hard to tell how reliable or how accurate those reviews are. So there are a couple of resources we can use to find at least just some general or objective information on doctors. The first one I'm going to talk about is actually not a website, but it is a database called Reference Solutions. And I'm including it here because it is a New Jersey statewide database. So everyone in New Jersey should have access to this. You'll see a link on the handout, which is the one I'm going to use. I'm going to go to jerseyclicks.org. Your local public library is also likely to have a link to Reference Solutions on their web pages, since it is a statewide database. And if you're a New Jersey State employee or a Thomas Edison staff member or student, you can also use Reference Solutions by using our database links, in which case you would need to use your library card to do that. But I'm going to go into the Jersey Clicks site. And this will bring us to a page that shows us a listing of all of the statewide databases. Scrolling down to Reference Solutions, and here's a description of it. So Reference Solutions is a really great resource. It used to be called Reference USA, if anybody's ever used that before. And it has directories for businesses and residents for the whole country. It's basically like a large super phone book, if you remember phone books. But it also does have a section for US healthcare with information about doctors and dentists. So you can see here all the different sections in Reference Solutions, and I'm going to go into the US healthcare section. And when you go in to here, there are two tabs. One is a quick search tab. So if you know the name of a doctor, you want to put that right in, you can do that from here. But if you want to search for doctors by certain criteria, you can use this advanced search tab. So when I click on that, it opens up all of these options to search for, all of these criteria that you can select. So let's say I want to search for doctors in a certain county with a certain primary specialty. And let's say I want them to be board certified. So with every selection we make, it opens up a box where you can fill in the information you're looking for. So I'm going to pick New Jersey, and that brings up all of the counties in New Jersey. And you can select more than one. So I'm going to put 2 counties into the box. And then here are all the primary specialties you can search by. There is a lot. There's a wide variety of specialties. It's a long list, so you can start typing if you want to jump right to the specialty you're looking for. I'm going to look for allergy, and I'm going to check off the board certified box. I want the board certification. So once you make your selections, there's a box on the right that says update count, And when you click on that, that gives you a record count for how many results came up with the criteria you selected. So there's 5 doctors here, so I'm going to view the results. And here's a listing, a nice listing of doctors in the area that have the specialty I was looking for. So if you click on to one of the doctor's names, this provides some information about the doctor. This shows an age, the medical school. This shows he has a secondary specialty, and it provides some office information as well. Sometimes some of the doctors, there's not as much information in here as others. So it just depends on how much information the office provides to the database. But it's a good starting point, and also it's a good way to maybe make a list. You can select the doctor's names and then download or print out a listing for yourself. So that is reference solutions. And now we will go into the actual websites. And I'm going to use the Health Research Guide as our starting point. So I'm going to use our Research Library dropdown and go to the Research Guides. And the librarians here at the State Library compile and maintain guides on many different topics. They're all excellent. So if you have interest in any of these other topics, I would definitely recommend visiting those. And I'm going to select the Health and Medical Resources page. And then I will go to there's a tab for medical websites. And so although we're just talking about 8 sites today, you'll see that there's many other sites here to choose from. If you're looking for information about a certain subject area, definitely take a look and visit the research guide. So the next doctor website I want to talk about, and I'm going to go to the Doctors and Hospitals link, is a New Jersey specific one, and it is called the New Jersey Healthcare Profile. And when we go into this website, you'll see that the URL is saying njdoctorlist.com. This actually isn't a .com. It's a New Jersey government site, and it's from the Division of Consumer Affairs. So there's actually a New Jersey state statute that requires that profile information about New Jersey physicians and also podiatrists and optometrists be developed and maintained, and that certain information be made available to the public. So this gives information such as like education, licensing information, office location, and disciplinary actions. There's also some optional information that doctors can provide. So you'll see that some doctors might have more information here than others. So I'll just do a quick example search for a doctor that I know is an allergist, and you have to select the license type here and click on search, and then here is the entry that has come up. So now I can click on her name, and this opens up a page about the physician. And on the right, we can see the license number and initial license date. The license is active. And then there are 4 tabs of information. So you can go in and open up a section that's of interest to you if you're only interested in the medical school, for example, or you can click on Expand All and go through all the information that's available. And we can see that her board certification is up to date. And then under the Practice Information tab, we can expand all of that information and find her offices. And she does have a lot of offices. There's also this section that mentions any language other than English spoken by the practitioner. That can be useful information. Health plans accepted, and hospital privileges of the doctor. And then the Legal Actions tab. When we open that, that will give information about disciplinary actions, license restrictions, criminal convictions, hopefully there's nothing there, and medical malpractice within the last 5 years. One thing to note about this is there's a notation here that says that settlement of a claim may occur for a variety of reasons which do not necessarily reflect negatively on the professional competence or conduct of the practitioner. So when I read that, I think about, there may be some doctors that take higher risk patients, or there may be doctors in maybe a riskier primary specialty. So it's just something to be aware of when you look at the information here. There is another way to search in here, like a slightly more advanced search, and you can get to it by clicking on additional search options. So from this section, you can search by a field of practice, a hospital, or a county. And here you can only do one county at a time. Also under the fields of practice, I've noticed that there's not the wide variety that we would maybe find in other, like in reference solutions. There was many more to choose from. For example, gastroenterology doesn't appear here. So what I would typically do is get the names out of reference solutions and then come in here and look for the practitioner in here. So I'm just going to do a search for dermatology and Burlington County, and I'm looking for a physician with an active license, and I click search, and now it pulls up a listing of doctors that meet that criteria. And again, we can go through the information for the doctors and get at least an overview, a little bit more detail about the physicians. Generally, when I'm looking for information on doctors, I use both of these resources. I also do some Google searching, but I do like to use these for the objective factual information about the physicians. Okay, so that is doctors. Next up, we're going to take a look at 2 drug sites. And I'm going to go into the drug information tab. There are actually lots of excellent medication websites available. And I'm going to show one that is geared more toward health professionals and one for everyone. So the first one is DailyMed. And I hope this opened. It wasn't working yesterday, so I'm really glad it's opening. This is from the National Library of Medicine. And this is the one that is geared more for professionals. It provides package insert information for FDA-approved drugs. And it also includes animal drugs as well as human drugs. So although it is geared toward health professionals, I think it would be good for doctors, pharmacists, and pharmacy technicians. There's information here that can help consumers, and sometimes consumers do want that extra level of information. So I'm going to do a search for, let's say, Zoloft. And usually you'll get more than one entry as a result. This is because usually there's more than one packaging company that makes the drugs. So we can open up the first entry, and you can see here that there is lots of information that's available. You can scroll through and open like certain sections if those are of interest to you. The description section usually has the chemical structure. There's clinical studies, there's a medication guide. One of the things that I think is particularly useful in this section is the highlights of prescribing information. So if we open that up, it sort of shows some of the most important points about the drug. So the indications and usages, you can see the dosage and administration guidelines. There's different dosages for different indications. There's dosage forms, warnings, adverse reactions, drug interactions. So you can find detailed information there. Some of the drugs also do have a consumer or patient version, so we could click on this version here and get the consumer version. Over on the left, if you wanted to see the package label, what that looks like, that's available, and also an image of the drug itself. In the orange box below, there's the safety information, so any boxed warnings will appear here if you click on it. medical professionals can report adverse events. There's also FDA safety recall. So if you wanted to find information about any safety issues, you can get that there. There's a link for presence in breast milk. So if you click on that, that brings us out to a resource called LactMed. Well, it used to be a database called LactMed, and now it's part of this bookshelf, which is also part of the National Library of Medicine. But you can get the information about the effects on drugs in breast milk, if that's something that is of interest to you. In addition, below that, there are a few links that might be helpful. This also links out to Medline Plus. And Medline Plus is a consumer health website, one that we're going to be taking a look at later. So for a more consumer-oriented site, you can go here. And it also has the package insert information, but in kind of an easier to read, like larger font size format. You can click on the clinical trials information. So if you want to find any clinical trials that might be going on using this drug. And there's also a link to PubMed. So PubMed is the National Library of Medicine's database of medical literature. So if you're looking for published study results, let's say you're looking for results on therapeutic use of this drug, you can click on this, and it brings you right into PubMed, where it's done a pre-formulated search, and now you can scroll through and look for results of that search and go through the articles that appear. So that's a quick intro to DailyMed. The next database, the next website is drugs.com. And this is the one for everyone. There's a section for health professionals as well. And this is the one .com site I am talking about. So you will probably find some advertising on this site. It's usually kind of not, too obvious, and it's labeled as advertising. It's usually out of the way on the side. I'm going to just jump to the bottom of the page to look at the site's credentials. Because this is a .com, I do double check those. But this is one that has a lot of credentials that they share. You can see that it's up to date. They talk about their data sources and when they're updated. There's also an aboutdrugs.com page that talks about their mission statement. So the purpose of the site, who it's for, why they're doing this, for education purposes. And there's a way to contact them. So this meets our criteria for a quality website. You can also see it has this HON code. That's sort of a standards code. So it is good to see that if you're searching on a health site. So I'm going to jump back up to the top. And there's so much on this site. I mean, it would take so long to go through everything, but there's, besides looking for drugs and medications, there's a pill identifier, an interactions checker, a side effects section. There's a section for conditions and diseases, treatment guides. This is really nice. You can compare two drugs, and you can create a medication list. And if you scroll down a little bit, you can see there is a section for health professionals. So I'm just going to search for a drug by letter. And when you get the results, just click on the drug you're looking for. And it brings up the results. And you see here it's also showing who reviewed this and when it was last updated. What's really nice here too is if you want a pronunciation, there's a little icon that you can press and play. I don't know if you could hear that, but it lets you know the pronunciation. And then you can just jump to a section you might be interested in, or you can just read through all the information about the drug. So taking a look at the pill identifier, this is really useful. Perhaps you found a pill, you don't remember what it is. You can enter the information you have about it, the imprint, the color, the shape. and it identifies that for you. Here's some examples. They have some popular imprints. Just click on one I haven't clicked on lately and see what that is. Okay, so this describes that drug and identifies that for you. I think what's useful on the pages on here, sometimes it'll have some additional information, like this Learn More section. You know, what if my pill has no imprint code? But this lets us know that all prescription and over-the-counter drugs in the US are required by the FDA to have an imprint code. So if it doesn't have one, it could be a vitamin, an herbal or energy pill, or an illicit or foreign drug. So there's a lot of information here. The interactions checker is really useful. You can just enter as many drug names as you need to, and it just adds it to your list. You can enter, let's say, aspirin. Let me put Zoloft in. And you can just keep adding them and then click on check for interactions. And then it lets you know what interactions are available, or interactions are a possibility. There's also a professional section of this page as well. Back on the main page, scrolling down a bit, on the left, there's even more information. So this has an over-the-counter database. There is a section for veterinary drugs. There's a section for a symptom checker. Here's that compare drugs link. There's FDA drug alerts. So it really is a very comprehensive web page and with a lot of useful information. Okay, so moving on to herbal medicines or maybe some alternative medications. I'm going to go to the complementary alternative health tab. And we're going to take a look at this about herbs, botanicals, and other products. This has actually been around for quite a while. This is from the Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. And it's not just related to medications for cancer. This is a site that talks about all herbal medications, or a large amount of them. So if we go to search about herbs, it brings up the search page where you can, again, browse by alphabetically, or you can type in the name of a drug you're looking for. You can just scroll through. One thing I really like about this site are these really pretty illustrations they have for all of the entries. So I'm going to take a look at this one for acai berry. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it shows some common names. And there's a section for patients and caregivers, and there's also a section for healthcare professionals. And you can open up the sections of interest. What's really good on here is that on most of the entries under the how it works, if you just want a quick summary, like just give me the bottom line, they'll have maybe 1 or 2 sentences in bold that lets you know, okay, here's what most of the studies have found. And then you can look through the other information if you want to do that. The section for healthcare information is more detailed, and it does provide links to the literature that verifies the statements being made. So if we wanted to click on that reference number, it would bring us right to that article where that information can be verified. And you can click on that link and go into PubMed again to get that article or read that, or at least read that abstract. And if the whole article isn't available, that would be something to get through your library. And let me go back up. And I think, and it's not just herbal remedies or herbal medications in here. You can also look for things like vitamins. Let me try vitamin D. So here we have what looks like a bowl of Cheerios, I guess. And you can find, information, again, patients and healthcare professionals. It's a really good resource if you want to research these types of products. Okay, next we're going to take a look at a nutrition site. So under the nutrition tab, there is a site called the Nutrition Source. And this is from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. And on this site, you can find, again, there's so much information here. You can find news, information on a wide variety of topics, including specific nutrients, vitamins, foods, carbs, fiber, diets. It has some recipes. So there's a lot here. This isn't a site where you would find like sort of a calorie counting type thing where that would be, I guess, maybe there's apps that are more suited to that, but this is sort of like overviews on nutritional topics. So let's go into the healthy eating plate as an example. And so this shows us what, we should be thinking about eating each day. On the left, a column opens up with information, like you can jump into different sections about healthy drinks or carbohydrates, salt and sodium, stress, sleep. You can go through the links that appear in the results. Maybe I want to get information about whole grains and read about that. I can just keep looking for, keep going down this rabbit hole of more information and look for information about fiber. So again, it's a site where there is so much information that is available. Because there is so much on this site, sometimes I think it is hard to find maybe what you're looking for on here. So there's a search box at the top right. Let's say I'm looking for information about the keto diet. I can just search for that up at the top and bring up the page that talks about that. So now we're here on this page and I can read about what this is, how it works, what is ketoacidosis, the diet. There are these menus you can open up that give more information, the research so far, pitfalls. And at the end of these pages also there are references that are available. What's nice too is when you're inside a topic on the right, sometimes they'll have additional information that's related to the section you're in. So maybe I read about this and I'd want to explore other types of diets. So maybe I'll take a look at the Mediterranean diet and get information about that here. So that is the Nutrition Source. This is another one that's been out for a while and it's really, it's a really good resource. All right, so the next site is one that talks about mental health. So on our mental health tab, we have websites that go to links for general information, specific conditions, finding help. Some of these are New Jersey specific and statistics. I'm going to go into the website for the National Institute of Mental Health, which is the main federal agency for research on mental disorders. And right on the front page are some commonly searched for health topics. So if this is one of the areas you're looking for, you can go right into this section and read about this topic. Again, you can jump to certain sections, signs and symptoms, risk factors, treatments and therapies, and scroll through that information here. You can click on Join a Study to find clinical trials. If you go to the top and you hover over the sections, it brings up more information. So under Outreach, there's information about legislative activities. Under Research, there's information about research that's funded by NIM. And if you're looking for funding for research, there's information about grants. But under the mental health information section, you can go to the area for health topics and find even more that were available than before, as well as treatments and therapies and special populations. There's also a section that has help for mental illnesses. So if we go there, we can find information such as helplines, crisis lines, so resources to get immediate help in a crisis. There's also on the right this SAMHSA locator. This is also a good website, the SAMHSA website, but they have a little box here where you can put in your zip code and find facilities in your area. And this is specific for substance abuse or mental health treatment facilities. And if you put in a zip code here, it brings up a map and shows you what's in your area. And the last but not least site that I'm going to be talking about is under General Health, and this is for Medline Plus. And this is one of the premier consumer health websites. Again, the National Library of Medicine has put this together. Perhaps you've seen this, or when you search for health topics online, this has come up in searching. Like all the NLM sites that we've looked at, there are no ads here. This is a site that will work on your phone. It has a mobile, and it's mobile friendly, but it's not an app. It's not something you would find in the App Store. And it covers almost all the topics we've talked about today, except for maybe the doctor information part, but it has overviews of health topics. There's a drugs and supplements section. So you can search by generic or name brand names. You can also search for herbs and supplements. And as I mentioned before, this also has the drug insert information. So you can find things like drug interactions, how to take the medication, what to do if you miss a dose, things like that. There's also a section for genetics. This can be really useful. I think more and more people are maybe doing those kits like 23andMe or the genealogy testing, and they're getting some genetic information and want to find out more about that. So you can look for that here. There's also a section for medical tests. This is something that people have questions about a lot, I think. You get these lists of tests you take. You want to find out what that means, like what is the alt blood test? What does it test for? What does your result mean? What do you need to prepare for the test? So that's available. There's also videos and tools. If you're looking for some health check tools. And on the main page again, scrolling down a little bit, there's a medical encyclopedia. This is really nice. It has good, shorter explanations of things. It also usually has a nice illustration to kind of help explain whatever the topic is. They have a section of healthy recipes as well. There are easy to read materials available, and there are links to organizations and directories. So this can help if you're looking for, additional resources, additional help for certain conditions. It's a place to find that contact information. There's also health information in multiple languages. So even though this doesn't have everything that Medline Plus has in all the other languages, it is a really good starting point to hopefully find some of what might be useful for somebody speaking those languages or understanding those languages. So let's take a look at the health topics section. So from the health topics page, oh, and I should mention that the information here is compiled and selected by medical librarians and subject experts. So what you get when you come here are that expert, those experts selecting the information, everything's vetted, and you get multiple sources on a topic. So when we're looking to verify, do things, are things, do they relate to each other? You can get that here. So you can find information by body systems. There's a mental health and behavior section. There's a complementary and alternative therapy section, food and nutrition, diet and exercise. So there's a lot here. I'm just going to look for a topic by name, and I'm going to look for, say, migraine headache. So I'll scroll down to my topic of interest. And normally when you get on one of the topic pages, you get a summary of what you're going to find on the page, usually definitions, what the summary, what they are, who is at risk, how are they diagnosed. And then there's a start here section that links you out to these resources, usually organizations, educational institutions. There's usually a section for diagnosis and tests, treatments and therapies. There's also a section on living with whatever the condition is. So they also support the emotional part of the condition as well. So that can be helpful. Related issues, specifics, genetics. There's a link to the clinical trials database. Also journal articles. If you're looking through this and again you want to find articles on your topic, if you click on one of these links, again it brings you back into PubMed, which is where it seems like a lot of things bring us when we're talking about articles. So if you want to find articles on this topic, you can just click right on that link. Find an expert. There's patient handouts, usually available for a lot of the topics. And so Medline Plus is pretty much, I would say, my #1 go-to health website, especially if I'm answering questions for patrons or looking for information for myself. So that's everything I have. That was a really quick whirlwind introduction to these websites, which I hope gave you an idea of what you can find there and what else is available on our website. Are there any questions about anything we saw or anything else?
Great, thank you, Martha. Yes, if anybody does have questions, there is a questions box in your dashboard. You can type in your questions there, and we'll be happy to answer them for you.
Yeah, I hope this was helpful. And thanks so much for taking time out from snow shoveling to join us today. But this is being recorded, so at least anybody who couldn't make it will be able to listen to this if they have an interest in listening to it.
More of a comment, but somebody said, thank you, this was very helpful.
Great. I'm glad to hear that.
Do you have any recommendations for sites with good multimedia?
Multimedia. It depends on what type of multimedia you're looking for. There is a video and tools section on Medline Plus that has health videos. So you can come in here and get videos on certain things. I don't know if there was something specific. Medline Plus also has certain animated videos. They actually used to have a section, it's not here anymore. They used to have like videos of surgery, which they would show like the whole surgery. That's not here anymore. Probably it's something you could find on YouTube. But was there anything specific, or does this seem like it would be something that would help?
All right. Were all of these websites reached through the library's website?
Yes. I was using our research guide. So let me go back to our main page. So if you come into the library's main page, I'll just go to the njstatelib.org page. There's a research library drop-down box, and the research guide link is one of those links under there. So you would just click there and scroll down through the research guides to find the health and medical resources one. And there's several tabs on this research guide, but there's one for medical websites. And that is where I was jumping around to find the sites we were looking at. The only site that, the only one I talked about that wasn't here is the reference solutions site. And that was that database. It's a statewide database. So that you would either find a link on your library's website, or you would go to jerseyclicks.org to find it, and that's on the handout. If you're a state employee or Thomas Edison staff or student, you could also go to the databases link on our page and find a link for reference solutions here.
All right. Very useful as my parents and myself age. So
Great.
that's a good
Yeah,
one.
I use that a lot for my mom.
Um, would you know if there are places for information on IBS?
I would say you could start with Medline Plus and go to, let's see, if we go to Medline Plus, you could actually just go to health topics, or you can search from the search box at the top. And this brings us to the page about that condition. And then this will bring you to all of those resources that that we talked about when we did the migraine as an example, but you would find the same here. You would find the resources for starting out, researching it, symptoms, tests, therapies, living with a condition, health check tools. So most conditions you would be able to find on Medline Plus. I think that's the site I would use for that topic.
Somebody said, wow, great, thank you for this. Another one says, this is very helpful. We'll be using this frequently, thank you.
Oh,
So,
great. I'm glad to hear that.
where could you go to find reviews of hospitals?
Reviews of hospitals. Okay, so on our website, there is a hospital compare site from Medicare.gov. Now, I think I read that they were going to shut this site down, but let me take a look. So this was again on our website in the health research guide under doctors and hospitals. There's Hospital Compare, and let me see if it's still here. Okay, let me just close that. Yeah, I think you can enter the name of a hospital facility. I think you can enter more than one here and do a comparison. So I would say to start with this Medicare.gov site. There might also be some others. There's a hospital safety score website. And New Jersey, there's one in New Jersey Acute Healthcare Facilities Hospital and Ambulatory Care site. So you can take a look here and see what kind of information they have. Let's see, see what they have, like 100. So if we look at a hospital, I guess it gives general information about the hospital. I'm just seeing if there's something else here. Those are the ones that come to mind. Yeah, those are the ones that come to mind. If you ever want to, my email information is on the handout. If you have any follow-up questions, if you want me to look further on any of these topics, please feel free to email me. I'm always happy to help with any kinds of questions.
All right. Where can I find a long-term therapist and a psychiatrist?
That is, there might be something, again, under Medline Plus, under organizations and directories, there might be something here. Let me see. Let's see. So there's links for different therapy organizations. I'm just seeing if there's something here. Like you might be able to use one of the directories or the organizations that come up on this site. Other than that, let me see if there's something in the mental health section. Organizations. There's the New Jersey Self-Help Group Clearinghouse. And this can be helpful to find a group or a self-help group. You know, I think that's something I would have to look further into. But if I find anything, I can answer that question in we do like a summary of the class and we put it on our website. So I can answer, if I find anything that has, you know, in more detail, I can add that to the summary. I'm just looking at this site called Mental Health Net. I mean, this could be another resource as well. Yeah.
If you have insurance, you can check your insurance website because they might have a directory as well of doctors, therapists, things like that that may be helpful too.
Right. I'm just thinking, I don't think that Reference Solutions has that as a specialty. I know that like psychiatry is on there since it's like a medical degree, but I don't think it just has like therapists. Are there any other questions or comments? Any other websites people use or recommend? By the way, if you know of something, if you know of a really helpful website that you've used, please feel free to email it to me. I'm always looking to add to our collection of resources.
Thank you very much for your time. This was informative and helpful. Stay safe and warm.
Yes, thanks so much, everybody.
Alrighty, well that looks like we don't have any more.
Okay.
Excellent information, thanks.
All right,
So,
thank you, Andrew.
yeah, I'd just like to thank you, Martha, for a fantastic presentation. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. As we said, this is being recorded, and you will all get a follow-up email with a link when it has been uploaded to our YouTube channel, and that'll also include Martha's contact information. So please feel free to reach out with her if you think of anything else. So be safe, be well, and hopefully we will see you again soon.
Thanks so much.